All right, so let's get started here. I'm talking tonight about the overall weather pattern, what we're seeing with the weather pattern, and what that might mean moving forward as we head deeper into the spring and the severe weather season. As we get deeper into the severe weather season, temperatures start to warm up outside. We consistently get more warm weather, or warmer weather, I should say. And as you get warmer weather, that typically means leads to more moisture. So in time, we're eventually going to see quite a bit of moisture increasing across the region. And as of right now, the Pacific jet stream remains very, very active. And when you see a strong Pacific jet stream, this time of the year, it typically means active severe weather. And if you look back on the weather charts over the last several months, it's been a relentless weather pattern with Pacific storm after Pacific storm that's been moving into California and across the southern U.S. A lot of bad weather out in California, which is a good thing because they needed all that rain. They needed all that moisture, and the lakes are filling up out there. We needed the moisture too, and our lakes are filling up here as well. So that is something that we are excited to see. But what we don't like to see is that these strong jet stream patterns as we get into the spring season, because when you do that, you start adding a lot of moisture and a lot of warmth to the atmosphere. That typically means severe weather. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that active Pacific jet here in just a moment. We already saw a big severe weather event on Friday across the deep south. And there's already, the Storm Prediction Center has already put some outlooks that include our area later on in the week. But I don't think, at least from what I've seen, that we're going to see much severe weather over here. It just, things to me just don't look like it's lining up. But we can talk a little bit more about what we're seeing here. Let's start off with the jet stream pattern. And the jet stream is, and just in case you don't know, it's the upper level wind pattern, just the currents in the atmosphere. It's located anywhere from, we could say, 20 to 30, 40,000 feet, somewhere in that area. And when you see these stronger winds located in the jet stream, it's typically associated with a stronger storm system. When you get those stronger winds in the jet stream, it helps to do a couple of things. Number one, not only does it help produce stronger storm systems, but it provides a source of lift. When you have all that wind up there, it's just like you're burning a fire in a fireplace. And it's real windy outside. It helps pull that smoke up, and it helps pull the fire up. Atmosphere is the same way. You got these strong winds up here. It's producing what we call divergence aloft, and it's pulling the atmosphere up. So we see stronger storm systems. We see lift. We see thunderstorms. And it also, when we get these stronger jet streams, also has a tendency to cause the atmosphere to rotate and spin. And if things can come together like it did last Friday night in Mississippi, then you get tornadoes. And unfortunately, it looks like that kind of a pattern could continue. So this is the jet stream. This is on March the 28th. This is tomorrow. Notice that you've got that circle feature off the California coast. That represents another big storm system. And then here it goes. We put that into motion. And as we head towards March 30th, 31st, it begins to kick out into the southern and central United States. Remember, though, when we're following severe weather, everything has to come together in order for it to produce severe weather. So with this type of a pattern, some places will likely get severe weather, but everything has to line up just right for that location to get it. So that's storm system number one around March 30th, 31st. And then here comes storm system number two coming in as we head towards the early parts of April. Now, I'm always one that say, especially in this part of the country, when we get into early April, we really have to watch these systems closely. Remember, our most violent weather that we've ever seen along the Red River, the biggest outbreak of severe weather, came April 10th, 1979. So these storm systems that can impact us early to mid-April usually have a punch. Now, with that said, history also suggests that we can see significant severe weather April and into May. But remember, as of late April, and this is over the last 5 years, and this is not conclusive evidence, our research has been done. But over the last 5 years or so, late April and May has seen a drastic shift in weather patterns, which is typically our main severe weather time. But we've seen drastic changes in the weather pattern that result in the jet stream weakening and lifting up to the north. And we transition to summer during that time down our way. It's more summer-like weather patterns. Now, that remains to be seen as to whether or not that'll happen. We've gotten rid of La Nina. That weather pattern is a lot more active. My gut tells me that this year will be different and that we'll get back into some active weather in the month of May. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But there we go, early April. There's another big storm. You can see this big, what we call trough. And when you get this big trough, it's almost like a horseshoe shape there. It's a big dip in the jet stream. Out ahead of it, you get that strong jet stream energy. You get that storm system itself that typically shows up. We typically get like an area of low pressure, upper level low pressure system that's usually located right there in what's called the trough axis. You get your lifting and all your severe weather would occur kind of out into that area. So that's another looks like active weather pattern. And we can even go out further than that. And as we head towards mid-April, what do you notice? And of course, things can still change. Here comes another one that potentially could impact the air. And there's another one back in here. So a very active weather pattern early to mid-April. And if everything can wind up lining up, we could get in on some active weather over our way as well. But this time of year, April especially, we have to watch the position of the dry line. That's key. Oftentimes, these big systems this time of the year, at least in my experience, they usually kick out either at night or in the morning over our area, which limits the severe weather possibilities. Or there'll be a situation where the dry line winds up pushing too far to the east during the afternoon. But mid to late April, that usually begins to slow up some and it gets back over our way. So we'll have to kind of wait and see just what indeed happens. All right, so if we look, we are seeing an atmosphere on Thursday that tries to become more conducive for severe weather over our part of the country. But when you see something like this, it doesn't matter. You can have, I don't care what you have. You can have all of these ingredients, just like baking a cake. You can have all the ingredients you want, but if you don't have an oven to bake it in, then you're not going to get a cake, right? Well, the same way with the atmosphere here. You can have all these bright colors and all these scary parameters and whatnot in place, but if you don't have a trigger mechanism, then you don't get severe weather. And I don't know that we're going to have a trigger in place on Thursday. It is true that the Storm Prediction Center has a pretty large area under a slight risk or a low risk for severe weather on Thursday. But as of right now, I'm just not convinced we're going to get that. It might be something isolated. I'm not ruling it out, but as of right now, I think that the main storm system is going to be too far west during the day and the early afternoon. There might be a little capping out ahead of it, so I think that might limit our threat. Now, as we head into Thursday night and Friday, the system shifts eastward and begins to intensify, and that kind of happens this time of the year some. So we could see a bigger threat for some severe weather, maybe east of here Friday, across parts of Iowa and up towards Illinois and into Missouri, maybe into Arkansas, maybe extending down to far northeast Texas. But I think that the main thrust of energy with that would be east of us on Friday, maybe an early morning thunderstorm over our way. But if you know people that live east, or you're watching me tonight to the east, that's where I think the action will be. Here's an area of moisture. Watch what happens with this. South winds increase, and there you are on Thursday. Notice how you got all that green out ahead of this little brown color. There's your dry line back east of Amarillo and just east of Lubbock. Out ahead of it, a lot of moisture. It's getting more humid out there. But again, that dry line is so far west. The main storm energy is so far west. I'd be surprised if we saw a lot develop along it. Now, as we head towards Thursday night, early Friday, you can see that dry line finally pushes east. But look at that coming through 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. You just don't have enough heating to really get significant severe weather during that time. So based upon what I'm seeing here, I think the threat for severe weather will mostly be east of us this week. And then once again across parts of the Mid-South. Maybe not as violent as last week, but it certainly is possible. So to kind of reiterate, what I'm talking about here is the active weather patterns that we're seeing. And eventually I think our luck will probably run out here. So far we haven't seen things line up for us to see significant severe weather in our area here. We had some big hail on last week. I think it was Thursday in Burke Burnett, but so far just things haven't lined up here just yet. But I think at some point in time our luck may try to run out, and we could wind up getting in on the act here too. So we'll have to keep an eye on this active jet stream and how everything winds up coming together and trying to unfold. By the way, that tornado that happened in Mississippi, so far looks like it's going to be a strong EF4 with winds of over 150 miles per hour. So a devastating situation happened over that way. I'm sure you've seen it. Rolling Fork, Mississippi really got hit hard with that big tornado. In fact, I've posted some videos here on my page from some storm chasers. And the storm chasers captured what appears to be a car or something. It's so far away. They think it's a car, but who knows? You can see lights getting sucked up and being lifted way up high in the atmosphere, and you can see the lights kind of swirling around. It's on my page. I don't know that that's what it is. The storm chasers kind of thought that might be what it is, but there's no way to be able to accurately tell probably at this point in time. So, and I haven't heard of a report of a car being hurled that far, so that may not be what that was. Could have been anything. I mean, there's a lot of damage over there. I think 23 were killed in that storm, unfortunately, on Friday night. But we get into these weather patterns every so often, and it's really been a long time since we've seen a weather pattern like this, where we see violent, severe weather. And unfortunately, when you get a storm like the one that impacted Rolling Fork, Mississippi on Friday night, and then you can also talk about other storms that we've had out this way, Moore, Oklahoma, those areas. When you get these big EF4, EF5 tornadoes, they're real hard to hide from. And if you don't have a storm cellar or some type of a storm shelter, it's hard sometimes to be able to survive these storms. A friend of mine that lives in Mississippi, he was hit by, they listen, I think it's Louisville, Mississippi, or Kosciuszko, I can't remember. But or Philadelphia, it's one of those little towns over there in East Central Mississippi. They were hit by a tornado, an actual tornado, probably 10 years ago now. And it was an EF4, and they had a big, fine 2-story house, brick, beautiful home, and it completely destroyed their home. And I had actually texted him before it hit and said, hey, man, you need to make sure this is a bad-looking storm. You need to get into your shelter or whatnot. So he rushed home, and they didn't have a shelter, but they did get in the closet. And he said that the house would just kind of just blew up. He said you could just feel it just blowing up and kind of fading away. And he said, I actually felt myself getting sucked out. He said, I was about to get sucked out when the grace of God saved me. He said, a brick wall fell on top of me, broke both my legs. And I think it maybe even punctured his spleen, or I don't know. But anyway, the wall fell on top of him and his family, and it saved him, because he said, I was literally getting sucked out when that happened. So I've heard of other stories like that too. I heard of one time in Mississippi growing up in November, something similar to that happened to a lady in Brandon, Mississippi. They were getting hit by an EF3, EF4 tornado, and their 2-story house was getting blown apart. And the lady she was getting sucked too, and she got hit by a refrigerator, and it knocked her out, but it saved her life. So she made it. She survived. But unfortunately, we get in these weather patterns sometimes where we have to face this. So that's why I'm saying that it's good to have a plan, a plan of action to know what to do before the storm hits. Always good to have you a safety kit, any medications you might need, batteries, radio, water, and also make sure your dogs and your cats have a safe place to go with you too. Because remember, you get that stuff going, they're going to need a safe place to go as well. It's always best to have that storm cellar. In my opinion, that's a good investment that could save your life. Yeah, true, they're expensive, but they could save your life. So, I mean, if you're going to spend money, you'll spend money on a car. Why don't you spend money on a storm cellar? So, I need to do that at my house. I have one at my house on Trinidad, but I don't have one at my house on Caprock. So I need one, though. My wife and I have talked about getting it. So. But anyway, well, that's really all I have for right now. I was going to see if you all had any questions, but I really don't see any here. So, I'll be keeping an eye on the weather pattern this week, but I don't think we'll see much over us. I think it's going to be east of us. And I don't, there might be something isolated on Thursday, but it doesn't look too bad. Going to be chilly tomorrow, but it does warm up later on in the weekend by the weekend. So I hope you had a great weekend. It was my birthday weekend. Wife and I went to the wine festival on Saturday night. We got there a little late. Had an okay time, tasted some really good wines. But I think by the time we got there, a lot of the people that we knew were already leaving. So that kind of put a little bit of a kibosh on our fun. So, but yeah, had a good time, a decent time. And then Sunday I cut grass all day. Cut grass all day today, and a lot of weeds growing right now. So I'm cutting a lot of yards right now, and getting people's yards looking good. But other than that, yeah, it was my birthday weekend. I had a good one. I can't complain. Blessed to see another year. I'm happy to still be alive, right? All right, everybody, I do appreciate you tuning in here. Remember that we have my social media platforms are YouTube. You can find me, of course, on Facebook. You can find me. I have an Instagram account, but I very rarely use it. I have a Twitter account, but I very rarely use it. But TikTok, I don't do a lot of live stuff on TikTok, but I do have fun with it sometimes. I'm on TikTok. You also can find me on Twitch. I don't know anything about Twitch, but I'm on there. There's another one called TROVO. I'm just trying to expand my platform so we can get more information out there. So more people can get the information. Remember, what I'm aiming to do here, though, is opposite of what a lot of these other guys are doing. A lot of these other guys are trying to hype up the weather to make money off of it. I'm just trying to get the information out there to you so you can be prepared, and hopefully you won't have that storm anxiety. That's what my no nonsense here. You're not with the BS here. So, there's a time and a place to play it up, and I will push the button if I have to. But, hopefully by educating you and talking you through these things, we can lower that storm anxiety. That's the number one thing I'm wanting to do. All right, I am going to go. I'm going to go home and fix some dinner tonight. I'm having sweet potato fajitas. Sweet potato fajitas tonight. It's one of those meal things that my wife and I ordered, where they send all the ingredients, and all you have to do is